Hey there, welcome to another episode of Life Design Plus, where we are mastering the art of living your authentic life. I am excited for you to meet my friend, Zac Owens. Zac is a professional basketball player getting ready to head over to Austria for his next season playing ball overseas. And obviously he is following his passions, living his authentic life as a professional basketball player, which is not a very easy thing to do. The really cool thing about Zac's story is when we go back to his childhood, he basically had a 0% chance of ever achieving what he has. So I wanted to share his story and also allow him to share how he's using basketball to establish a platform for a much bigger purpose. So with that, let's get to this great episode with my friend, Zac Owens. We'll kick it off with the congratulations of MVP of the City League.
Right.
Because I'm going to be transparent. This is round 2 of the beginning of this conversation because your host, who is not a rookie, forgot to hit record on the recorder. So for all of you out there creating content, it's never perfect. So congratulations on MVP. To me, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
So for those of you not in Indy, City League, they bring back players that, a lot of them from Indy that are playing overseas, but then there's people who come back because they're friends with guys here. But it's legit competition.
Yeah, it's very legit competition. Ex-NBA players, a lot of high-level overseas guys, high-level Division I guys, and then, like you said, a lot of your friends who played in high school and were good or maybe just didn't play in college or chose a different route, they come back and play too, and a lot of them still got games. So it's very competitive.
How did it feel to win MVP?
I mean, like they say, the hard work pays off. Like, it just felt really good. Like a weight lifted off of my shoulders. It was a lot of good players in that league. So to be basically labeled as the best player in that league, it was a big accomplishment. Like, definitely for me personally, and for like my team around me, and also for my family too. So.
And you guys dethroned were they back-to-back champs? Like, how many years in a row did they win?
I want to say 2 or 3.
Thought, yeah.
They were on a roll for sure.
So
but
the torch has been passed.
Oh yeah, it's ours now.
So, as I was alluding to the first time we started this, like from an outsider watching, it looks like this last year's been a pretty big year for you. Am I seeing that right? Like, has this been a big year for you? And if so, kind of, how's it been so big?
I would say this summer.
Okay.
This summer, specifically, has been really big for me. I've just took it personal. My second year overseas was just very shaky and just very not permanent as I wanted it to be. Starting with my team in Croatia, they were iffy bringing me out there. They didn't really believe what they seen in the film. They didn't really trust the agent that I had. And just being there, you could just tell they were always one foot in, one foot out, just with me as a player. And I didn't really understand it because I felt like I was producing at a high level with what I had, but they didn't see it. So then I was able to move on to another team. But that just made me want to turn it up a little bit to make it like, okay, I never want this to happen again. I never want a coach to feel like I'm not good enough to play somewhere. And the same thing happened in Portugal, playing in Portugal's top league. The coach, the team kind of felt the same way. They went through a lot of players last year, but when I got there, I was hoping to change that. But it was still kind of the same thing, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. We know he's a good player, but we don't know if he's good enough to play here. Blase. But I just wanted to make sure that never happened again. So I was like, I know this summer specifically, like, I got to turn it up and do what I need to do to make sure that never happens again.
So aside from winning MVP, how'd you turn it up? What did that mean for you?
I knew I had to, my workouts had to be a lot more specific, and I knew I had to get stronger. I had to change my body to be a professional. I had to be able to shoot the ball at a better rate, at a higher rate, at a higher clip. My girlfriend, she actually pissed me off. I'm not gonna lie. We was watching.
Hopefully, it was motivating. Tell me more.
It was. So we were just chilling, watching March Madness actually, and I think a game Caitlin Clark she might have had like 39 and hit like a side step from almost probably half court for 42, and she like looked over and just made a comment like, "Yeah, you don't be making shots like Caitlin do," and I was like, "Oh, okay." So if that's what you think, then I need to make a lot more shots. I need to get my jump shot better, and that's what I did this summer. I've probably made 10,000 shots this summer because of that comment, because of Portugal, because of Croatia. I've got a lot stronger. I'm dunking now, so I knew I had to add that into my bag. And yeah, I just like keyed in on the details, just with pace, just with like angles to score, how to defend at a higher level, like just every single thing a basketball player has to have. I just took it to another level this summer.
I like the fact that she said you weren't doing what Caitlin Clark was doing. You took that personal, because Caitlin, like, that's almost like saying you aren't doing what Steph Curry did.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Caitlin's a very rare player, and it's not like she was saying you weren't doing what like I was doing. Like, to me, that wouldn't necessarily be a big insult, but I love that you took it as something to like motivate you. Do you look for chips to put on your shoulder usually, or that just happened to be one?
I perform better when you tell me I can't do something.
Okay.
But I don't think at the time that she knew that, but I needed that at the time. I needed that because I was like, you know what? Actually, you're right. Like, she's a great player, and I need to be a great player as well. So I need to, match that level of intensity in my own way. But yeah, I always look for something to make me mad, to turn me up a little bit. Just to. It just keeps me focused, and it keeps it fun too.
I like that, because part of me would be afraid that you could use that chip to be a little bit of like a negative or a lower vibrational type of thing. And for me, low vibration brings negative things, but it sounds like you're able to take what could be a negative and flip it into a positive. So as long as it works for you, then man, you keep on finding those things.
I love it. I mean, it's been like that my whole life. I mean, since I was born, it's like, okay, you can't do this, you can't do that. So it's just like, okay, like, it's just kind of more natural for me. I don't necessarily like when things are, oh yeah, you good, you can do this, I got you, this and that. I kind of like it more the opposite way of like, nah, you can't do that, or you can't do this. It's like, okay, I'm just gonna show you I can do it, and then you'll be able to see that I can.
So if you're guarding Zach, don't ever tell him he can't do something.
Right. Don't wake me up. Please don't.
Say, great shot. I knew you were going to make. Just feed you a bunch of like positivity. Right. And that'll counteract that.
Then I'll be confused. Like, what?
That'd be awesome. You mentioned, going back to childhood being told can't. I want to preface like the story you're getting ready to share with highlighting how much you've overcome and like how the odds were not in your favor to become a professional basketball player. So growing up, I remember being young, and they tell all these kids that come out to play at the Y in different places, only a few percentage of you will go into play high school, and a smaller percentage to college, and even smaller to professional. So like to become a professional athlete at any level is like tenths of percentages, like really, really small.
Right.
But there's something unique about your story that basically should have been you had a 0% chance of doing this.
Yeah, for sure.
Would you share and kind of elaborate more on how even from a child you were told can't, and how maybe that's part of that can't being told to you fuels you?
So when I was about when I was about 2 or 3 is when we actually found out what was wrong. But it really started when I was born, and the doctors told my mom that, hey, your son is born without a skull. And so like the can't stuff, it started from birth. Like I was already born without something. And so my mom told me that I would just get these random nosebleeds just out of nowhere, just sitting in the car, riding home from maybe like daycare or something like that. And she was like, something's off, something's wrong. Like, we need to go get this checked out. Went to the first doctor. Nothing. He's just a baby. It's normal. It'll pass through. Continued to happen. And my mom she just trusted her instincts. Like, no, something's not right. Like, we got to figure this out. So then she went to a doctor named Dr. Karen CG, and she saved my life, realistically. And she looked at the CAT scan and was like, we need to get him to Raleigh Hospital, which was in Indianapolis. And that's when I was diagnosed with it was craniosarcosis, I believe is the name of it. I may have pronounced it wrong, but I believe that's what it is. And
sounded right to me.
Right. And basically that's when they were like, yeah, that he's born without a skull. We need to go into surgery right away. And so basically what they did was they took a metal plate, some plate form, and put it into my skull. And it over the years, it molded with the skull that I did have. the little skull that I did have, which was maybe less than 1%. So now it's okay, but I had to go. I used to go to the doctor I was there until they let me leave. Once they let me leave, I had to come back once a week.
Okay.
And then once they seen progress, I had to come back once a month. And then once they seen better progress, it was like every 2 months, then every 4 months. Then it was like all the way through with the even numbers. And then it got to once a year. And then that probably stopped maybe not until I got to high school, to where I had to stop going to Riley and they stopped checking in on it and everything like that. So, but yeah.
Tell me about the memory you have being down at Riley, passing the elevator.
Yeah. Man, so my memory of it is very, very small because I was a child, obviously. But I just remember, I remember going into the surgery room and them asking me like, "Hey, what is your favorite pop?" And at the time it was Dr. Pepper. I smelled Dr. Pepper and I don't remember anything after that. I just remember waking up and, like you said, I was passing an elevator in one of the wagons that they have at Riley, and they keep a lot of the patients in there, especially kids, so you're not just running around. And passing the elevator, I just remember seeing my reflection because it was like an all silver elevator. And I remember seeing my reflection, and it was just, my head was just wrapped up in like straight ace bandage, like the brown ace bandage, the white ace bandage. And it was like, kind of had my head like looking like Megatron a little bit. And it was just like a lot of red and yellow cords coming down, like in between the ace bandage. Like, I believe it was like a monitor, just making sure everything was okay. And it was hooked up to like kind of like an IV would be hooked up to that, and it was just rolling with me as I was in the wagon. And then after that, I just remember going like back to my room, and there was this cage in there, and it was around like the bed that I had obviously in the hospital, and then there was just like a cage like fully wrapped around, almost like a jail cell kind of like, and it was just wrapped all the way around, but obviously it was just to protect me so I didn't fall out of the bed or anything like that. But that's the most vivid memory that I have of my surgery to this point.
I have a funny story about the cages. When Roman was little, he used to have like breathing episodes where he had asthma for a little while. And one of the nights we had to stay overnight, and they gave him albuterol, but it was like a higher level of it. So like that stuff makes the kids wired. But even this was at IU North. Okay. They put him in a bed that had the cage thing around it. So he was like holding onto the bars, jumping around. Like you imagine like a monkey in a cage. Like that's what that Roman was like, jumping around, going crazy. So as you tell that story about being in that crib, I remember Roman being in that. And it does look like a jail cell, but I thought of more because the way he was jumping around in like a caged monkey.
Right. It's probably the same exact thing too.
So they tell mom, probably gonna have to be, special classes, never gonna play sports. Did mom, or do you remember, was that message relayed to you that you can't and you're gonna have obstacles and life is gonna be harder for you? Or do you think she kind of overcompensated or shielded you from that, which obviously allowed you to break all of what they thought was possible for you?
I think she never really told me that the doctor said that. She just always treated me as if I was normal, just like my friends. Like, hey, yeah, you can go do that. Like, do you want to do that? If you can do it, you're going to do it. But if you do it, we're not going to quit. And I understand why she said that now that I'm older, because if I quit, it will look like I can't do it because of the procedure that I had, the surgery that I had. So, but no, she was just very supportive of everything. Like, if that's what you want to do, then that's what we're going to do. If you want to play travel ball, we're going to do travel ball. If you want to do baseball, we're going to do baseball. If you want to do football, we're going to do football. So, but yeah, I never knew that I had anything, I guess you could say, wrong or anything was off about me at all. I always just felt like I'm just playing sports. I'm just here,
I think that highlights the power of the mind. Because that message of you can't never reached you, and therefore you could. Like there was no reason you couldn't. You didn't know that you weren't supposed to do that. And I wonder, I'm glad we don't never know, but I wonder had that message found its way to you if you would have pursued sports and if you would be a professional player. So I just think about like what we tell our kids. Obviously as parents, we love our kids and we want to protect them, but also sometimes some of the things we project onto them might keep them from reaching their potential. So be mindful of those things. Getting back to basketball, you said you played multiple sports. At what point did you know basketball was it for you?
I would say a lot of people told me I was better at football than basketball.
What
for
position
sure.
did you play?
Running back all the way until I got to high school.
Okay.
Then once I got to high school, I moved to receiver.
Okay.
But I would say my junior year of high school was when I really focused in on basketball. Right. A coach told me, his name was Javon McGraw. He told me that in order to be a pro, you have to do something every single day, because there are kids in other countries and other states that are only focused on basketball. So while you're playing football and while you're running track, this kid is working out every single day, getting better than you. And I had a chance to play football when I moved to Indianapolis and went to Crispus Attucks. But I took his advice and I was just like, let me fully focus in on basketball and let me try to really make something with this. So.
And then at what point did you believe or know, college wasn't going to be the stop for you for basketball?
Man, I wouldn't say not until my sophomore year of college. I figured, I'm like, okay, I have a lot of game left in me. I'm still very young. I was injury free at the point. I was the best player on our team as a sophomore. And a lot of the conversations I would have with my teammates, they were like, I'm going to do an internship once I get done, or, I'm going to go work here and work there. And I knew deep down that's not what I wanted to do. I knew I didn't want to just get right into a job and just work for somebody else. I kind of preferred to work for myself in a sense, or work for an agency who could represent me. So at that point, when I heard those conversations and I noticed my skill level and my work ethic was better than a lot of my teammates, I knew I had to take a different avenue.
Sounds like Kobe Bryant. Like, I think about the stories he talks about, and like, why would I trust to give you the ball when I watch how you practice?
Pretty much. Pretty much.
I'm curious, that moment where you realized that you had more ball left in you, that professional was a possibility. Did the belief in yourself grow at that point, and did you see that your game stepped up, or was it kind of just really acknowledging something that you kind of already knew and there wasn't a huge change? I'm just curious if, like, now that you have this belief that you're pro, if it took your game to the next level, or were you already there, it just took you a little while to realize?
So I would say it started my freshman year. I came into college very raw, just very skillful, just very fast too. Just the type of player. I was just very dynamic, very high energy. But we had an All-American point guard that was a senior in front of me. So we always would battle and go back and forth. And it was just still his time because it was his last year. And
Who was that?
His name was Mike Bush.
Okay.
Mike Bush, yeah. And he was kind of my mentor too at the time too. Like, I learned a lot from him. But it was his senior year. I was a freshman. Obviously, he was going to play. He's an All-American. So then sophomore year came. He left. Opportunity is there now. What's going to happen? And the moment that I knew, it was one game. It just took one game to where I realized, and I had 31, our first home opener.
Oh, wow.
And up to that point, I had never really scored that much. But once I had 31 that night, it was uphill from there. I was like, oh, okay, I can do this now.
Tell me about getting the first opportunity overseas. Like, what was that process like? As somebody who's never experienced that, the only experience I had was I got hustled. I graduated, and somebody reached out for a camp that was supposed to be like European scouts.
It's funny
and
you
stuff
say
there.
camps.
Yeah, so I was sucker for it, and so I remember it was at Ohio State, not at their main gym, but it was on Ohio State's campus. I drove over, and I knew immediately it was a scam. Because first off, we had these dingy-ass heavy T-shirts, and we were practicing with rubber basketballs. And I'm like, there's no way a reputable company that's putting people overseas has rubber basketballs. I'll give you a pass on the T-shirts, but the rubber basketball was it.
It's
and it
crazy.
was so frustrating because nobody passed the ball. Everybody wanted to try to score.
Crazy.
And I was like, I'll never do another one of these again. So what was your experience like? Obviously much better than mine.
I mean, it's crazy you say camps because coming out of Bethel University, I really didn't know how to do it or how to get into it. So I had a lot of agents. Actually, I had 3 or 4 agents trying to get me to sign with them coming out of my senior year.
Okay.
But that was directly all through Instagram. Like, and they were all overseas agents, and they just, you know, see my numbers, see my film somehow, some way. I don't know. They contacted me, by the grace of God. And they were just like, hey, we want to represent you. You don't have to pay us anything. Like, once we get your deal, the team will pay us, so you don't have to worry about any money or this and that. I'm like, cool. I was a broke college student anyway.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I really didn't have any money anyway, so I was just like, that's perfect for me. You can get me over there. I'll take care of the rest. But my journey to get my first opportunity, I signed up for a camp that was like, it's called Eurobasket, and it was hosted in Spain, but it was very legit though.
Right.
I was one of the best players there. It was me and another guy who was probably about 6'6". Nothing came from it. Flew out to Spain for a week, had like a summer league basically. So we just trained and played against like maybe 50 other like guys who were trying to go pro as well, all rookies. Nothing came from it. So I'm like, dang, okay. That's one opportunity. Then I went to another camp here, and it was in Kentucky. It was a little iffy. But I played pretty well. Nothing came from it. So I was like, okay, that's 2 camps. Then traveled to Spain. Then did one here. Okay, nothing came from it. So then I signed with the agent, with one of the guys that were texting me on Instagram. And we started to build a relationship. And then he got me my first opportunity to go play in top league in Macedonia, North Macedonia. So that was kind of the journey in order to get my first contract. It wasn't easy.
And where are you heading to this upcoming season?
So this upcoming season, I'm headed to Vienna, Austria for a team called BC Vienna.
Okay.
It's right. Vienna is the capital of Austria. So I'm right in the midst of everything. It's top league Austria out there. We got a beautiful facility, a beautiful gym. So I'm excited to get out there.
Nice. You got to let Morgan hang back, though. Like, I want her to be able to go visit you, but I can't lose my video person.
Yeah. I need her for a couple of months in playoffs. As long as I get her for a couple of months in playoffs, I'll be good.
Make it to the playoffs, I won't complain.
Okay, for sure. We're trying to win a championship this year, so that's the goal.
So as I think about, I was telling Morgan this, like, I was excited to ask you this question.
Yeah.
So obviously you were born to be a basketball player because you overcame the doctors. You know, you're not the biggest guy, so like your size wasn't an advantage, your speed and everything else. But like on paper and a quick judgment, like, yeah, he could probably ball, but professional, maybe not. So you were meant to be a basketball player.
Right.
I talk about our authentic life and our purpose and, you know, what we're supposed to be doing and the why behind it. I'm curious if you think that you being a basketball player is it, or is really you being a basketball player a part of a bigger plan for you? What do you think? Where you sit today? Man,
that's a great question. I think me being a basketball player is part of something bigger.
I would agree.
I'm very realistic, and I understand our life may be this long. I have this long to play basketball. Realistically, if you're grinding how you're supposed to be grinding, you're working how you're supposed to be. I have this long to play basketball, and so that means I have this much more life to live. So basketball is definitely going to lead me into whatever is next for my life, for sure.
Can I share perspective as somebody who watches and follows you? I believe basketball is something bigger for you. Like, I don't think being a basketball player defines Zach.
Right.
I watch your social media and your message and how you bring your faith to your social media. And I like to think that I can see potential in people, and I'm trying to figure out if I see really what is in store for you, or if I see what I would be doing if I were in your shoes. But I think that you being a basketball player, and part of the bigger picture is being a basketball player and being a star gives you a platform to bring this message of faith to more people. Because Zach, the software sales guy, or Zach, the accountant, or whatever, you know, you're not going to have that audience that you're building as a professional basketball player.
Not at all.
So I think that, you know, your word of faith is what the real purpose is, and basketball is a means to an end for you to grow this following, have a platform, help these people, and then who knows how it plays out as time goes on. But that is what I observe, and I think that basketball is for me.
And I think that's true, and that's what I try to at least perceive through my social media. I just try to at least motivate somebody, because I just feel like if I can do it, then you can do it, because the reason I do it is because it's a choice. Just mentally, I just feel like if I wake up and I'm like, okay, let me go to the gym. Okay, let me take care of my body. Okay, let me eat right. Like, those are all choices that I get to make, because I could easily wake up, not go to the gym. I could wake up, not eat right. I could wake up, not go work out. You know what I'm saying? So I think we have a lot more control in life than we think we do. And a lot of people don't use it in the way that they should use it, and they let life control them instead of choosing the life that they want.
All right, quick interruption. I promise it'll be short. I just want to draw your attention to a new item, if you will, on the menu of my personal website, justincastelli.io. On that website, you will see Life Design Plus, you will see the daily notes, you'll see an About Me tab, and you'll also now see a periodicals. The periodicals is where I'm going to be doing some more writing, more long form, more thoughtful, that will be different from the daily notes. So I'm kicking off the periodicals with a short series about life planning. First post, what is life planning, is already up. The next post will be who is life planning for, and we'll continue to build so you can get a better understanding of what life planning is and what life planning means to me and what to expect if we should ever work together in that type of relationship. It's really, really important that I think people understand what life planning is, how it complements financial planning. And I think every advisor and planner will have a different way of approaching life planning. So I want you to know what my style is like. So if it ever comes to a point where you need help moving closer to your authentic life, you'll know whether or not I might be the person to help you out. So again, justincastelli.io, up along the top, you'll see the periodicals. Pay attention to that, because I'll be writing more long form. Obviously, I'll be sharing those on social media. I'll let you know in podcast episodes if a new one comes out, but expect longer form, a little bit more research, a little bit more stories. They'll take me longer to write than the daily notes that take me, 30, 40 minutes to write each morning. But I want to have a space where I can go deeper into my thoughts and deeper into my explanations and help you find your authentic life through other ways of communicating beyond the daily notes. All right, let's get back to this episode with Zac.
So before that commercial break, you said something that got me really excited, that you believe, as I do, we have more control and choice in our life. Tell me more.
I think we have a lot more control over the choices that we choose to make on a daily basis. And those choices build up. The choices that we make, I feel like they are like a building block. And the choices you make on a daily basis, they determine the type of lifestyle that you have. They determine the type of life that you have. If you take a person who works out every day, they work on their mental, they're trying to stay positive, and they're trying to do the right things, that person is more likely to have a better life than the person who doesn't want to eat right, who's lazy, who doesn't really care about themselves, who doesn't really love themselves. You're going to have two different lifestyles, and I just would much rather have a good life than I would rather have a bad life. So yeah.
How do you maintain that confidence? Like that, not the confidence to be a basketball player, but the confidence to know who you are and love who you are. Like, how do you personally maintain that?
I think through the process you go through to get to that point.
Okay.
That's where the confidence stays, and I think all of the work you put in to believe in yourself, all of the work that you put in to trust yourself, all of the work you put in to have self-confidence first, all of the self-work that I have done and that God has led me through, I feel like that's where the confidence comes from, and I feel like that's where the confidence stays. Just by allowing God to lead everything. That was one of the biggest things that I struggled with in my life, because I was trying to have control over everything. I have to make this amount of money. I have to do this. I have to look this way. I have to do that. And it was just like, realistically, you don't. Like, because who are you doing it for? When you feel like you have to do something, it's because you're doing it for other people. But when you are just like, you know what, let me live my life the way that I want to, and which is kind of my motto right now, is just be you. I'm just being myself now. I'm following God. I'm playing basketball, and I'm loving on my family, and I'm just making sure I spread love to my friends. And if I do that every single day, it's just like, that's the life that I want to live. So that's just the life that I'm going to have. You know what I'm saying?
Do you have any advice for somebody that doesn't know who they really are? So like the just be you, like to me, that's the authentic life. And Morgan and I were talking about it earlier when we were recording our musings, that she asked me, like, before I was this authentic version of myself today, was I happy? And like, I told her I always was the authentic version of myself at that time. It's just I know more of who I am today. And for me, the way I have found my true self is alignment of spirit, mind, and body. So I set all that up. Like, how did you find who you really were to have that confidence? And if your message is to tell people to just be themselves, and just do themselves, like, how would you help them or point them in the direction of figuring out who they truly are? Because we have so many influences on us, dating back to kids, like.
Right. And that's a big part of it.
Yeah, like, parents have wishes and goals for you, but then outside of you, society has systems they want to send us down, and there's all these things that are shaping us to be somebody that we probably aren't supposed to be.
Right.
So how do you cut through that noise, and then how do you also find that confidence to be somebody you feel like you're supposed to be, but isn't necessarily what society has told you you're supposed to be?
I think you have to live your life the way you want to, and not live the life that the society has created. I think once you feel like life is supposed to go a certain way, that's when you aren't being yourself. Because life can go however you want it to go. In the grand scheme of things, once you, like you said, mind, body, spirit, like once you align those things up, that's when you figure out who you really are. And you already know who you really are. You just have to dig deep and really figure out who it is. And it starts with your inner child. Like, I literally just got a tattoo of that, because once I healed my inner child and really just did what I knew I always wanted to do as a kid, and I lived that, that's when I figured out who I was. Because I'm like, I've always been me. But we allow distractions, we allow the world, we allow others' opinions to dictate how we live, and dictate the things that we like, and dictate the places that we go, and dictate the things that we do. But that's not being yourself. That's not being you. You're living life for other people. So the biggest thing I would say you have to start with is stop caring what other people think about you. Because so many people are so focused with themselves anyway, and are so selfish anyway, that their opinions really don't matter, because they're so focused within themselves.
They're not even really paying attention.
Yeah, they're not even really paying attention to you. So you might as well do what you want to do anyway. If you want to wear a certain shirt, wear that shirt. Who cares what anybody thinks about it? If that's what you like, that's what you like. Why does it matter what she likes? Why does it matter what I like? It doesn't, in the grand scheme of things, because that's your life. You got to go home and lay down and wake up and do it all again the next day. Not me, not anybody else. So why does it really matter what other people think about you? Why does it matter what the world perceives you as? Because you can go create who you want to be perceived as, and then that's who you will be perceived as at the end of the day. So
no, I fully agree with that. I love that. So I'm glad you brought that up, because I think it is important. But to your point, when I think about bringing finances into it, so my alignment is spirit, mind, body, and then money is the final
spirit,
part.
mind, body, and money.
Because I am a financial advisor turned life planner. I've spent my whole career in finance, and money touches everything. But like the money component, I always put last, because I feel like when you find out who you really are and you find that confidence to be you, then it doesn't solve necessarily all of your money problems, but it could solve a lot of them. Because I think a lot of money problems stem from trying to impress people who aren't even paying attention to you by spending things or doing things. And I also think sometimes people spend and do trying to find out who they really are.
Yeah.
And to your point, the answer to who you are lies within.
Yeah.
It's doing that internal work, whether you're on your own or with a therapist or however. But like the answers to everything for our life lie inside of us.
Yep.
And that's one of the cool things over the last years. I spent more time on this stuff. Like, I'm seeing that to be true. Like, it's one thing to read about it. It's another to hear us talk about it. But then when you actually experience it, like that is when the light bulb goes off. And I've realized like that those moments are why people, like, if you look at social media, that's why someone will go off the deep end and be just obsessed with telling you about how great something is. Like, it might be with a workout or a nutrition. Like, if somebody discovers like the paleo diet, or they go vegetarian or something, and it like changes their life, like that's all they want to talk about. Right. And it's because they know how it makes them feel, and they want you to experience it as well.
Yeah.
So that's why I love the podcast and the opportunity to have people like you on, is that you and I can't force anybody who follows us to experience what we have experienced and know what we know.
Right.
We can share our story and help them experience it themselves sooner, because that's what's going to make a change.
And that's all it is.
Yeah. I had a question earlier, but I forgot what it was going to be. I don't think it was that great of a question, obviously. So let's talk about kind of like where you sit today, the vision for yourself post basketball. So it's a certain amount of time.
Right.
Things can change because you're going to experience new things that will open your eyes to new horizons and show you new possibilities. But where you sit today in 2024, kind of what do you see for yourself outside of basketball?
Outside of basketball, so as of like right now, or when I'm done playing?
When you're done playing.
Okay. Wow. Outside of basketball, when I'm done playing, where do I see myself? Right now, I see myself being a motivational speaker, preferably coaching somewhere, depending on how I'm feeling once I'm done.
Okay.
How my mind is, how my body feels. Preferably coaching, just to continue to give back and help, and obviously like help players believe in themselves, help players get to that next level, help players go pro that want to go pro. If you don't want to go pro, okay, there's still other things that you can go do and that you still can be successful at. But yeah, motivational speaker, being a coach, and then running a organization to help less fortunate kids or kids who need help more than other kids do. For sure. So those are like the three main things that I'm working on now that I can have when I am done playing.
That's what I was going to ask you. I know you're laying the groundwork for the motivational speaker part, but I was curious if you're laying the groundwork for the other stuff. So. Yeah.
So as far as the motivational speaking, I'm laying the groundwork now. I have a motivational page called Talks with Zoe. And I post motivational videos on there as much as I can. I'll be posting a lot more once I have a lot more time overseas. And then as far as the coaching aspect, I coach AAU in the summers, which has helped me as a player as well, too. Being so young and being able to coach players and giving them the game helps me learn the game as well, because I have to be able to take what I just saw, break it down for a 16-year-old kid to understand what I'm saying. And maybe with a different vocabulary, but it's still at a high level. So that's the coaching aspect. And then the organizational part, I'm learning now about like nonprofits, LLCs, and just different things like that, of how I can have an organization to where I can be able to accept grants, make money, but then also be able to disperse that money and help other people lives easier in a sense. So
is there any, the way you envision the nonprofit in the future, is there any, does it want to be sports focused or is it just life focused?
As far as what, like who I'm helping?
Yeah, like do you want to use the grants to help kids play sports? Do you want to use the grants to do, back to school stuff?
Yeah.
Like help feed families? Just, there's not a right answer, and you might not know. I'm just curious.
Right. I mean, to start off, it would be like back to school stuff, because I think school is important. You need school. You need to have some basic education going through life. So to start off, it would be just to help kids go back to school, like maybe a new pair of shoes, or obviously school supplies and backpacks, and maybe new clothes to go into school, just so you can have that feeling of, okay, I have new stuff. I have a haircut. My hair is done if I'm a female. If I'm a male, I have a fresh fade or a fresh lineup, or whatever the case may be. Just having that feeling of, okay, I feel good going back to school. And then, I do want to branch off into helping families, like maybe doing food banks, or, having big dinners for people to come and to be able just to come together and just eat and just have fun and just laugh and not worry about anything. I think that's the biggest thing, is just taking that worry away from a family that's struggling, or a kid that's struggling, or a parent that's struggling. At least just for a second, so they can have that moment and be like, okay, like maybe this is what I want to do, or this is what I want to do for my family. Like for that kid, like, okay, this is worry free. Like, okay, I want to do this too. So, that's the vision that I have for the organization I want to create.
I love the idea of the haircuts. People underestimate how a good haircut can make you feel.
Oh, I love a haircut.
Oh, I go every Friday. So
I love a good
always
haircut.
like that's something that I have always, like, in high school, it's every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But then when I have my own business, like when I get to a certain point, I'm getting a haircut every Friday.
Oh, yeah.
It makes me feel so good.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
I operate under look good, feel good, be good.
Same.
But the key to that, going back to something you said earlier, for my mantra is, it's look good, feel good, be good for myself. Like I'm not I don't care what you think, as long as I look in the mirror and I feel good. That's gonna make me, I'm gonna look good because I think I look good. I'm gonna feel good, and then therefore I'm gonna go be good.
And I think, to your point, like for yourself, I think that's where it also starts with that self-confidence and just being yourself. Like a lot of people want to look good for other people, but it's like they don't even really care what you look like. Like you said, look good for yourself, feel good for yourself, be good for yourself, and then that also ties into the self-confidence and where it comes from. Well, why are you confident? Because I'm getting a haircut every Friday. When I get a haircut, I feel good about myself. When I feel good about myself, I perform well at my job or with my family or whatever aspect it is in life. You're performing well. Why? Because you feel good about yourself, because you're doing something that you like, that you love. So you have to do a lot of the things that you love in order to love yourself.
Is there something else that you love that's not basketball that if you couldn't play basketball you would do? Like, well, if you weren't a basketball player, what would be your second dream job?
My second dream job?
Yeah, and it could be anything.
Oh, wow. That's okay. Realistically?
Not realistically.
Not realistically?
Well, I mean, give me realistic and then shoot for the stars. So I'll give you mine as you think about it.
Okay.
My dream job, if I was not in finance and not creating content, what I would love to be is a music producer. I would love to produce hip hop beats. I've always loved rap.
That's tough.
I love hip hop. I've always loved listening to the production, but I don't play any musical instruments.
Right.
The cool thing is I recently found somebody that is going to coach me on making beats.
That's smooth.
Not that I'm going to become a producer in the future, but before too long, the background music on these clips with Morgan are going to be my own produced beats.
And that's healing your inner child, though. That's what you want to do.
Yeah.
That's part of just being yourself, for sure. So realistic or not realistic first?
Give me a realistic and then give me the non-realistic.
Okay,
if they're different.
Realistically, what I would want to do if I wasn't playing basketball, like as a profession, I would either be an agent, or a professional bowler.
Bowler.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the unrealistic? Both of those sound realistic to me, so that doesn't seem unrealistic.
Unrealistic. I probably would be like a pilot or something.
Okay.
Just to do something like off the market, like fly private jets for like all the like superstars and stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
nobody knows who those people are, but they're probably loaded with bread. So it's like I would just be rich and nobody would know who I was.
Have you always liked planes?
I mean, I think they're interesting, but it's not like a big love for them or anything like that.
Okay.
But I just think that's a very low key job, and I could make a lot of money. So
and that lets you do the nonprofit and all the other things. So
exactly.
It all makes sense.
Exactly.
Well, let's go back to basketball.
Okay.
What are your goals for the upcoming season? And then, what's goals for upcoming season?
Upcoming season? Just to, speak it into existence, I'm going to be real. I want to win a championship this year. Because the European world, winners get paid. That's who gets moved up. That's who get jobs the fastest in the market. That's who gets the best jobs. And that's just the most important thing in my career right now is just keeping the job. So I know if I can win, I have a higher percentage of getting a job. Like I know my performance can get me a job, but I know winning will guarantee me a job, and it's a difference. But that's the most important thing. It's just winning a championship this year. I'm not sure if we're playing in a cup this year. When a cup is like, you know how they had in the NBA, the little mid-season tournament. Those are very popular in Europe. So if we're in a cup, I would love to win a cup this year too. And then as far as individually, you obviously want to be MVP. Like I just got MVP here playing in town, so it's just like I want that to translate as well. I want to average high double figures this year. I'm not gonna put a number on it out there specifically, but I have it in my notes. So what I want to do, I want to shoot my percentages. I want to have high percentages this year, at least 50 from the field for 2-point field goals, at least 40 to 45% from three, and numbers. I'm not trying to miss a free throw this year. That's my biggest goal. Like no missed free throws, because my family, they don't care about nothing else.
But free throws?
Yes, I can have 30. I can have 3. If I missed a free throw, well, you missed a free throw today. Like, dang, we just won by 50 and I had 25. Like, you don't care about that? No, you missed 2 free throws. So I'm like my grandma, my girlfriend, my mom, they always just straight free throws. Why you miss your free throws? They free. I'm like, okay. But I probably made out of those 10,000 shots I made this year, I probably made 1,000 free throws, if not more.
Okay.
So I definitely want to be close from 95 to 100% from the free throw line, because, I mean, it's hard to be perfect, but it's not impossible. But that's my goal for this season.
We got your goals for this upcoming season. Not that you are unappreciative and aren't excited to be in Austria, but is there a location you have your eyes set on as you keep on moving up the ranks? And obviously your program knows that they're a stop as people go up higher. Hopefully they want to see you go.
Right.
They do. Is there a place that you have your eyes set on?
Yes. I would say Turkey.
Okay.
And I would say China.
Okay.
And obviously back home playing in either NBA or G League for sure. But right now, Turkey and China for sure.
Man, that China money, it might be hard to come play G League money.
Hey, you never know. You never know. But yeah, China is really on my list. The style of play that they want the Americans to come over there and bring is literally the style of play that I have. Just high energy, crowd favorites, scoring a lot of points, making a lot of highlight plays. Like, that's just the type of player I am. So I know I would thrive in that setting, especially making that amount of money. So it would just go hand in hand. But yeah, China is definitely where I have my mindset set on of where I want to be down the road for sure. Hopefully sooner rather than later. But I know it's a process.
How do you maintain your confidence without being arrogant? Because there's nothing about you that comes across to me as arrogant or full of yourself. Yet you sit here and you talk confidently about going to China, and I believe you will.
Right.
So how do you maintain that balance? Because I think it's important to be confident, but I also think it's important not to be an arrogant asshole. So how do you maintain that balance?
I would say it's two things. The first thing is just knowing that God is in control of it all. Like, it's nothing that necessarily I'm doing. I'm just living the life that God has placed in front of me. He put Austria in front of me. Okay, I'm going to go to Austria, and like, I have to be able to handle the blessing that God gives me as well. So if he blessed me with the opportunity to go to Austria, I need to go to Austria and take care of business. You know what I'm saying? I don't need to go to Austria and not work out and not go to practice and be late and be unprofessional. I'm not handling the blessing that God gave me. And I feel like the second thing is just knowing how quick the tables can turn. Like, that's something I've noticed in the hoop world, being in Europe especially. Like, it was one time when I went to Lithuania midway through the season, and I took someone else's job. And it was just like, oh, okay. Like, I had to kind of reel myself back. Like, this can happen to you too. Like, just because you did it to somebody else doesn't mean it can't happen to you. So that's where I'll just stay humble with it and not be arrogant, because I think once you get to be arrogant, nobody likes you. It's hard to get a job anywhere else, and you may get hurt or something may happen to where it's like you're not there to be able to talk how you were just talking, or whatever the case may be. So those two things, just knowing that God is in control and then that the tables can turn at any moment, that's what keeps me, like, I'm confident, but I also know it can change at any moment. So,
and I think there's something with humility that I think humility can sometimes be used to keep people down. And what I mean by that is, like, the opposite of humble is arrogant. But you can be humble and still be confident. And the reason I say that, I think that sometimes some people who need to have that additional confidence fall under the belief they have to be humble, and because they don't exude that confidence, it keeps them from reaching their potential. And something I've thought about a lot. Like, are we taught to be humble because we should be humble, or are we taught to be humble because if you have the right amount of confidence that might exceed what other people are comfortable with, then you will rise up, and not everybody wants to see you rise. And I hate thinking about that way, because to me, it's almost like there are some people out there who are not good people who would tell us those things to try to keep us down. But just a random thought that I have, as you mentioned, humility. I think that if you get arrogant, sometimes you get checked. And so the story that makes me think that and believe that is, I mean, I played at Franklin College, so Division III school in college. I didn't know this coming into it, but I was not one of the big, like the main recruits for the school. Like I came in thinking I was one of the, they recruited me to play JV, but I didn't know that, nor did I believe that.
Okay.
So I came in and I was one of 2 freshmen that played on the varsity team because Division III will have JV sometimes.
Right.
So I came in, and the funny thing is, like, they recruited all these kids from smaller schools who were putting up like 20, 25 a game.
Right.
And I was only averaging like 13 or 14, but that was in Marion County against Jason Gardner and like Chris Thomas and all these really good
That's 20
players.
in your eyes.
yeah. Put me in a small school, I'm averaging 30.
Easily.
But so I didn't know. But anyways, I come in, I make the varsity team, and we've had a doubleheader, 2 games in North Central up in Chicago.
Okay.
And the player in front of me, who was a junior, I think, first game of the season, shoots, gets checked out while he's coming down, and like microfractures his knee.
Mm-hmm.
So I end up starting the second game of my freshman year when I was brought in to play JV.
That's tough.
Like I had 16 the first game. I had a really good start.
Yeah.
First few games played really good, and I'll never forget being at like one of the small fraternity there party and looking over at the other freshmen and just big headed, like, oh, we're starting on varsity, like all this stupid nonsense. And like a week later, I get sick with an upper respiratory infection to the point where I can barely run up and down the court without coughing to the point where I puke. So I didn't miss any games because of it, but I fell down the ladder of the rotation because I just couldn't run up and down the court. And on top of that, like we played DePaul, we got to play at Hinkle. I started 2 trips up and down the court. I'm coming off to go puke because I keep on coughing. And I look back and I'm like, that was a check. Like I got too big, and God was like, nope, we're gonna knock you back down if you think it's all you. And so I always try to maintain that. I don't necessarily have to be humble to keep myself small. I can be confident and be big, but just not too big. Because at the same point, if you're going to be in a position of motivational speaker and leader, you have to exude a level of confidence that I think exceeds the baseline humility. So it's above humble, but it's below arrogant. And you have to do that because that energy is needed for people to trust and follow. So I don't know where I wanted to go with that.
I mean,
like,
if you study a lot of like the people who are great, like they have a little bit of arrogance to them, but like not too much. Like Kobe, for example. Like Kobe is very strict with what he does and how he does it and who he associates himself with and how he talks to his teammates and tries to get the best out of them. But it's like he has a high level of confidence too, but he works at a different rate to back it up. But it's like you don't think he's not self-confident. He thinks he's going to make every shot. So what do you think? You think he's going to make every shot too. So I think like when you see people who are great, like you have to have that level of I am good. I am nice. Like no matter what it is that you do, like whether it's sports, whether it's just at life, whether it's being a dad, whether it's just being a student, like no matter what it is, as long as you have that, like I am that, or I can be the best at this, like no matter who else is around, you have to have, like you said, some higher level of confidence than most, but not that like, okay, like, yeah, he's an asshole, I don't want to deal with him type of mentality too.
This part of the conversation just made me make a connection. So I think that arrogance extends to how you treat other people. So when your confidence tips over to a level where now you start treating people like you're above them. Right. That is, to me, as I think about this, that's when you become arrogant. When you start treating waiters and waitresses and, trainers and coaches, assistant coaches, like they're beneath you because your confidence has gotten that high. That to me is when you become arrogant. Right. From the best of my knowledge, Kobe never treated people like that, like he was better than them. He treated his teammates harshly because he expected them to meet him on his level. Right. But it wasn't like I'm a better person than you. Right. And it wasn't like I'm not treating people as human beings. I think that is where arrogance might come in. Right. I never thought about that before. So
I mean, I agree with that too, because it's like okay, yeah, say I am this great player or whatever you want to say, just for my instance. Okay, yeah, I am this great player, but I'm not going to treat anybody like they're not great. You know what I'm saying? I want you to be great, because if I'm experiencing greatness, or I'm experiencing this great life that I want to have, or that I want to be in life, it's like I'm going to do everything in my possible power to try to push you to get there as well, because you can be great too. It's enough greatness in the world for all of us to be great. So there's no reason to treat anybody wrong or treat anybody like I'm better than you. It's like, okay, I may be better than you with skills, or I may be better than you in shooting, or I may be better than you in defense, but that has nothing to do with the type of person you are. Because when you step off the basketball court, who are you?
Right.
And I think that connects the same thing, like where you're saying arrogantly, like I'm trying to push everybody else to be great too. Cause it's like, you can be great too. Like all you gotta do is get up and do it every single day. Like as hard as you can. That's all you gotta do. Like it's not no rocket science to it. It's not super hard. You just have to make the choice and get up and do it. Like,
it sounds like it's more about being the greatest version of yourself rather than, greater than me. Like,
exactly.
Maybe you don't have the ability to be as great as me at the thing I'm the best at, but you can be a greater, better version of yourself.
Right.
And that's what the pushes. And if we all are the greatest version of ourselves, then I feel like so much that's wrong with the world would be better. Have you heard of the Japanese concept ikigai? It's connected, so you should take a look into it.
I have to look in that one.
I think it'll be helpful. I'll tell you what it is. I think it'll be helpful for you as you help out the people who, like the young men and women who are going to come to you for advice and things over the years because of where you are. But so basically, ikigai is the idea of finding the intersection of what you love, what the world needs, what you can get paid for, and there's one more.
Ooh.
What you're good at, what you love, what the world needs, and what you can pay. So if you overlap those four circles, in the middle would be your ikigai, and that. To me, ikigai is very similar to finding your authentic life. That if you find that authentic life, if you find your ikigai, it's basically going to make you the Kobe of whatever it is that you do better than of what you enjoy. So you're the best version, and that's the best version of you, and nobody can do that as good as you can, which kind of meets those circles. So
and that makes sense.
It'd be a good concept for you just to be aware of.
Yeah, I'll definitely look into that for sure.
All right, one more random question before we wrap up. The triple twos on your wrist. What's the significance of that tattoo?
Man, triple twos on my wrist. So 222. It is an angel number, but some people look at it like spiritually or whatever you want to do. Like, I don't look into it as that. It's just a number I see a lot when I'm just like randomly looking at the clock, and it's not by like, oh, it's 2:21. Let me look at the clock. Okay, it's 2:22. I seen it today. Like, it'll just be like, what time is it? Or I'll get a call or a text and it's 2:22. Or
have you ever looked up the meaning of 222?
Yes.
What's the meaning?
It basically means like, keep doing what you're doing. Everything that you are doing is going to align itself up. Just over time. So like whatever you're doing, keep doing it. It's all going to work out eventually. So just continue to stay on the path you're on. That's basically what it means. And then I'm from Anderson, Indiana, and the exit to get off onto Anderson, Indiana is 222. So it's like I have that. My basketball number I wear is 2. So that's another 2 in my life. Yeah, I'm
a believer in angel numbers and signs and all those things. So I do think that you see the 222 for the exact reason that those meanings are.
And my birthday is December 22nd, so that's 12/22. So it's like you got all of those things that just come together. So it's like, okay, this got to mean something. Like, like just if you pay attention to the signs, it'll mean something. So.
And I know what you mean about the clock. I don't see a specific time, but I'll catch repeating numbers on the clock all the time. And Leo catches it as well. So like, I'll look, it'll be 4:44. I'll be like, Leo, look at the clock, or he'll do it to me, and it just. I believe that those types of signs. Some people want to chalk them up as coincidence. I don't believe they are. But I think those are more frequent the more aligned you are spirit, mind, and body. And they come in lots of forms. Like I see numbers. I see animals. I told Morgan about a frog I saw last night and the meaning behind that, and a whiptail lizard I saw at the end of a breathing. Like I see these things all of the time. And I don't believe they're coincidence. I believe I also don't necessarily believe they tell you the answer. I think they're more to your point, they're guides saying you're on the right direction, keep on going, and that there will be a bigger lesson to learn. But you gotta, this happened for a reason, so keep going in this direction. Right. Maybe it's going to be what you think it is, and maybe it's going to be something else comes out of it, but you're heading in the right direction. And I think those signs are around all the time.
100%. 100%.
All right, man. So where can everybody follow you to see how the season goes?
Yeah.
To get the messages, I'll put those all in the show notes and make it easy for people to find.
Instagram will be Zac Owens 2.
Okay.
And then my motivational page is Talks with Zoe.
Okay.
Just ZO, not like ZOE. Just
Okay.
Talks with Zoe. And then my TikTok is Zac Nation. I'll post a lot of my motivational stuff on there, a lot of like my day in the life, being overseas on there. And that's really all I be on social media wise. It's just TikTok and Instagram for sure.
All right, I'll link to all those so they can get the inspiration and hopefully get the basketball clips of all the highlights over there.
For sure.
Well, man, I want to thank you, and I appreciate you taking the time to come in and also redoing the first 20 minutes,
right?
Because of the human error on my part. But I've been looking forward to this conversation.
Me
and
too.
I was really looking forward to the section where we talked about like what you overcame in childhood and how you didn't let that define you, and you still became a pro athlete. So
Right.
I appreciate your time and looking forward to following and looking forward to Roman getting trained with you every once in a while next summer as well.
Facts. Thanks for having me though. This was great. I loved it for sure.
All right. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Yep.